This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. I have long lamented the slow pace at which we are moving toward justice for members of the Trump team. Donald Trump himself, his dopey kids, and also the lawyers that surrounded him in his orbit in their earnest attempt to overthrow the free and fair election during 2020. John Eastman is maybe chief among them. And a 2-page memo has been released. Listen, as part of the reporting for a lot of these books that are coming out, these journalists are doing a lot of deep dives. And they are uncovering all kinds of gold that hopefully will be utilized by the Justice Department, since it doesn't seem like they're doing anything, and the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. Because all of these things are either loosely or directly connected. And we'll read from this article of this breaking story that Memo shows Trump lawyers' 6-step plan for Pence to overturn the election. I have that memo right here. And I'm going to read not all 6 points, but there are some alarming things in here that a lot of people are going to cover up and brush aside and dismiss as, oh, that's just lawyers being lawyers. They're just arguing the law. That is not what this is. This was an attempt to subvert the United States Constitution, a document to which lawyers and other officials in the government swore an oath to protect and defend. Reading from this article from CNN, a conservative lawyer working with then-President Donald Trump's legal team tried to convince then-Vice President Mike Pence that he could overturn the election results on January 6th when Congress counted the Electoral College votes by throwing out electors from 7 states, according to the new book Peril from Washington Post journalists Bob Woodward and Robert Costa. The scheme, put forward by controversial lawyer John Eastman, was outlined in a 2-page memo obtained by the authors for Peril, and which was subsequently obtained by CNN, and subsequently obtained by me. Third hand. The memo, which has not been previously made public, provides new details showing how Trump and his team tried to persuade Pence to subvert the Constitution and throw out the election results of January 6th. The effort to sway Pence was just one of several behind-the-scenes attempts that Trump's team undertook ahead of January 6th in a desperate bid to overturn the 2020 election loss after dozens of lawsuits were thrown out of the courts. Peril, which will be released Tuesday, details how Eastman's memo was sent to GOP Senator Mike Lee of Utah and how Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani tried to convince fellow Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina of election fraud. But both Lee and Graham scoffed at the arguments and found that they had no merit. This was a concerted effort on the part of professionals, dignified individuals with educations and lofty levels of respect from their peers. And they attempted to maintain power by keeping Donald Trump in office, even if it violated the United States Constitution, even if it amounted to a coup, an overthrow of the American government. The Eastman memo laid out a 6-step plan for Pence to overturn the election for Trump, which included throwing out the results in 7 states because they allegedly had competing electors, while in fact no state had actually put forward an alternate slate of electors. There were merely Trump allies claiming without any authority to be electors. Do you remember the clown show surrounding all of this, where people just showed up and said, we're alternate electors? They weren't appointed. They just said they were. And then Donald Trump went along with it and said they were. Under Eastman's scheme, Pence would have declared Trump the winner with more electoral college votes after the 7 states were thrown out at 232 to 222, anticipating, and this is in the memo, this part that I'm getting ready to read here is in the memo, anticipating, quote, howls from Democrats protesting the overturning of the election. The memo proposes Pence would instead say that no candidate had reached 270 votes in the Electoral College. That would throw the election to the House of Representatives, where each state would get one vote. Since Republicans controlled 26 state delegations, a majority could vote for Trump to win the election. It was a devious plan undertaken by lawyers who understand the law and know what they were doing was unconstitutional, was anti-democratic. The plan was first proposed to Pence when Eastman was with Trump in the Oval Office on January 4th, during one of Trump's attempts to convince Pence that he had the authority to stop the certification of the election. Quote, "You really need to listen to John. He's a respected constitutional scholar. Hear him out," Trump said to Pence at the meeting, Woodward and Costa right in peril. In the memo, Eastman went so far as to suggest Pence should take action without warning. The main thing here, he said, is that Pence should do this without asking for permission, either from a vote of the joint session or from the court, Eastman wrote. Don't ask permission. I guess we'll just ask forgiveness. Isn't that the old adage? It's easier to ask forgiveness than it is permission. The fact is that the Constitution assigns this power to the vice president as the ultimate arbiter. We should take all of our actions with that in mind. In the end, as we all know, Pence didn't go along with Eastman's scheme, concluding that the Constitution did not give him power beyond counting the electoral votes. He did his own consultations before January 6th, according to the book, reaching out to former Vice President Dan Quayle. I mean, come on. That's the counsel he has to take, is Dan Quayle. And the Senate parliamentarian, who were both clear in telling him he had no authority beyond counting the votes. When Pence refused to intervene, Trump turned on his vice president, attacking him on Twitter, even as the insurrection at the Capitol was unfolding on January 6th. Now, this is where it gets very scary, because this is a formally written document, privileged and confidential, it says at the top. And I'm not going to go through all 6 points, but this at the end here is very alarming in point 6. And I read a little bit about it here from the article. The main thing here is that Pence should do this without asking for permission, either from a vote of the joint session or from the court. Let the other side challenge his actions in court. That was the entire objective, is to try to throw this into chaos in the courts and hope for a similar outcome to what took place in 2000 with Gore and George W. Bush. Chaos. It is the standard operating procedure for the Republican Party. And ghouls like John Eastman should be disbarred, should not be brought back into regular functioning society. He should not have a job. He should not be allowed to practice law and subvert our Constitution. And where are Republicans about this? Again, crickets. Nothing from them, while respected members of their party are actively trying to undermine the Constitution and our very democracy. Anyway, I would love to know what you think. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Thank you guys so much for engaging with my content, liking the videos, commenting on the videos. I don't have a clever thing for you to comment today, but you'll think of something. So Jesse couldn't think of something to say. Anyway, if I bring you value, any value at all, whether it be a laugh or some information, I would appreciate if you would help support my work, help produce my work here on YouTube for as little as $2 a month. You can click the join button below this video, whichever side it's on, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. All of those are viable ways to help support what I do here. If I'm not your flavor, I'm not for everybody, I know that. But if there is somebody out there that does bring you more value than me, support that person. Toss them a couple bucks a month. Independent media, independent analysis of the news is more important than ever. And your support is greatly, as I choke myself, greatly appreciated. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll see you next time. And until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.